This episode of the podcast is brought to you by patreon.com/lightscameranonsense. Visit patreon.com/lightscameranonsense to help support your favorite new movie podcast. Now, let's get started. I was going to do a sunglasses bit where I was like, yeah, I've been watching a whole bunch of stuff and my eyes are all red. And it's dumb. It's dumb.
Dumb. Of what could have been.
Oh, what a great magical joke that everyone would have laughed at. I really appreciate your fucking honesty with that. Thank you. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lights, Camera, Nonsense, where we give you all the latest movie magic you may have missed. I'm Nick Simmons.
And I'm Zach Hieronymus Smith.
I don't get the reference.
It's all right. It's for me. And maybe anyone else who listens to Adventure Zone.
Oh, okay. I guess now I feel like an asshole for not listening to another fucking podcast. And on September 12th, 2020, let's dive into the previews. Zach, what have you been watching?
So let me paint you a picture here.
Okay.
Let's jump back. We'll jump back a couple weeks, and I see this show. It gets a new season on HBO Max, and I'm like, yeah, that looks pretty decent. I'll go ahead and toss that on my watch list. And then fast forward a week later, in which you directly message me and say, hey, this show's really good. You should watch it. I'm like, well, that works out because it's already on my list. So, yeah, maybe I will watch it eventually. Fast forward again to this week, and on one particular night, 6 hours later, I have suddenly found myself having watched the entirety of Infinity Train all in one go. Yes, excellent. Oh my God, are you okay?
I'm fine, but I'm waiting for it.
Bless you.
Thank you. Yes, those were sneezes.
I was trying to make sure you were dying before that.
They were little tiny, just got a sniff of pollen, and then, of course, little tiny, poofs of I didn't want to, scream the sneeze like I normally do.
Yes.
It's horrifying.
Well, this was not much better.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Probably looks pretty violent in the recording. I didn't even check.
It looked violent, and it sounded even more violent.
Oh, God. I can't wait to publish this in audio form. But continue. Sorry.
So, yeah, I watched all of Infinity Train.
Did you like it?
Animated show. You talked a little bit about it, I believe, last episode.
It was last episode, yeah.
Yeah, it's an animated show. Started on Cartoon Network for its first two seasons. And then this most recent season 3, dropped exclusively. Well, I think it's also on Cartoon Network's website, but it for sure is on HBO Max because that's where I watched it. And it's a little hard to delve into specifics, just because so much of it is, I guess, spoilery. It's a very quick show. Each season is 10 episodes, and each episode is around 12 minutes or so. So yeah, in 6 hours, I was done with the entire thing. So I guess it starts off with Tulip, who you've explained before is this girl who wants to go to this game design camp, and then for one reason or another does not end up going to that and finds herself on this train, the Infinity Train, in which each car has a different kind of puzzle aspect to it. And what turns out to be the case for the train as a whole is it is there to help passengers come to her...
Become a better version of themselves.
I don't want to say that because it sounds it's almost kind of you attach an upgrade, a robot upgrade or something like that. But really what it is, it's for dealing with grief and self-actualization. Yeah. So it's much more of an internal thing. And I guess each season is called a book. So there's book 1, 2, and 3. Very Avatar-ish. And I don't want to get too far into why this is the case, but each book... Wow, it's dark over there now. Now it's really bright.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's
Nothing like on-the-fly lighting changes.
I'm sorry, all right? I never said we were a professional podcast, but it's like the way that I'm looking, I hate it. Sorry, continue. I'm sorry. I keep distracting you. It's a good show. Check it out, folks.
Yes, it's very good, and I don't want to get into too much why this is the case, but each book or season concerns a different passenger. Mm-hmm. So once you get through book 1, you kind of move on to... but they're all connected, so there is a reason why the passenger in book 2 is the passenger that they are. It's I would rank it up in one of the upper echelon of like kid animation. Like this is technically marketed as a kid show, but is very much appropriate for anyone. Even adults will find something to like about it for sure.
I was gonna say it's one of those cartoon kids shows on Cartoon Network where they definitely tackle real human adult issues that like you or I can kind of connect with. The self-actualization of the characters and how they try to become, I don't mean better versions of themselves, but like try to become better people through learning through their mistakes and through problem solving through each of these cars.
Right.
There's a world of Infinity Train when it comes to how these stories are interconnected through each book, but like I'm definitely curious as to how the series will continue and how it will connect to previous characters and all that.
Did you finish all the way through?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. You want to talk about like jump
Season
in 3. Like content? Holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
There's a part like at the very end of season 3. I'm like, it's one of those things where you know you're watching a show that kids will be watching, and you're like, fuck, that's brutal.
Yeah.
Actually, there's 2 moments in that specific book where like
it's definitely season 3 is a darker season. Yeah.
Yeah. Almost to the point where like I wouldn't be surprised if they started marketing towards like a little bit older, like not so much like 8, or maybe not 8, because that might be pushing it for book 1. But like I'd say like 10 is where book 1 and 2 kind of fall under, and then like as the series goes on, like into the latter half of book 2, it starts to age up a little bit, and then book 3 for sure is probably like 13, 14.
It reminds me a lot of books like the Harry Potter series, where the way that it's written and the way that it's kind of targeted story-wise, it definitely matures with its audience over years.
Now,
so
it definitely does that. But that's not to say like I believe you insinuated as much as well. The first book has some mature themes in it as well, in terms of loss and grief, and like that book 1 in particular, when I first started watching it, hit very close to home for me. And it's not a subject matter that you typically will see in a quote unquote kid show. And it's refreshing to know that that's out there. I definitely rank it up in like the upper echelon of like kids animation, along with like Gravity Falls, Airbender for sure.
House.
These shows that on the surface are like, oh yeah, that's a kid show. It's not meant for anyone older. But there's like evergreen themes, or evergreen in the sense of like everyone can relate to what's being presented on some level. I would say it's damn near perfect, that show. So if you have not watched Infinity Train, I would implore you to seek it out, especially if you're a fan of animation, as well as intelligent and mature, not in the sense of like, F-bombs and, dicks flying everywhere. But,
mature in theme, not necessarily in content.
Correct. Yes. Something that treats its audience with the respect of a invested viewer. Definitely check it out. And like I said, it's super quick. If you want to make a day of it, bust it out in 6 hours. But you can. I think, So if each book is 10 episodes, so little over an hour and a half. Right? Is that right?
Yeah.
That's not right.
That's about so. Well, I don't want to do the math because I'm not in high school anymore. You can't make me. So.
Okay. We'll just say that. A little over an hour and a half for each book. Definitely give it a shot. And then the other thing I watched was Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Hey, me too. I watched the entire trilogy since we last talked on our podcast. And boy, howdy, that's a roller coaster of a trilogy. Yeah, that is crazy stuff there. I didn't watch the whole trilogy. I just watched Face the Music.
Okay. So was not as invested in the whole thing as you were at the time. But that being said, I am still a big fan of the previous two movies.
So what did you think of Face the Music?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it's like I don't want to say like this is going to make it sound bad, but I don't want to say it's like a great film. It's a very wholesome movie, There's no like underlying like conceit of like, oh, Bill and Ted are the villains the whole time because they want to like. I mean, I guess that is kind of
that
part
was
of
Bogus
it, but...
Journey, and I guess part. So what I wanted to say was that this is kind of after watching the first two previous movies almost immediately before I watched all three back to back with little pee breaks in the middle as well. So what was kind of funny is we all gotta pee. Was that watching them all back to back? They're all kind of like in not universes, but different genres of their own. When it comes to like the first movie, it's kind of a parody of the archetype of like the stoner skater.
Like kind of like Wayne's World was for the time.
Yeah, it's basically taking this archetype of a character and making the entire movie about them and like what if they have to save the world or they have to solve this problem. Yeah. And that's Excellent Adventure. And then Bogus Journey happened, and it's one of those weird sequels where they're like, well, we want to do something kind of like Excellent Adventure, but we also want to do something completely different. So let's just do something completely different. And it definitely has that kind of weird, like, it doesn't feel like it fits, but it also has the same exact characters, and it's also really awesome.
Right.
And I sent you a short clip of Bogus Journey last night.
Yeah.
And it's the scene where evil Bill and Ted, which are like they're evil robots from the future, and they come
automatons or whatever.
Yeah, sure, nerd. But they peel back their face to show that they're evil robots, and honestly, the practical effects are fucking amazing.
Yeah. It's like I don't know if you've ever seen. Did you ever watch the Imagineering story on Disney Plus?
I did not know, even after you recommending it to me. Sorry.
That's okay. So what I was gonna say is, like, I don't know if you've ever seen like an animatronic puppet, without any of the skin on it, but it's the kind of feel you get where it's like all this like, it's like a plastic encasing, and then you have like a bunch of fucking LED lights going off, and that I completely forgot how like intense that scene is.
It's like Five Nights at Freddy's.
In terms of like the skin peeling back, and they're like, it's not bloody or anything. It's just like it's just like rubber. It's basically a Halloween mask coming off, but it's still creepy. Like, ugh.
So that's bogus. That's Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, 1991, and then Face the Music came out, and it almost seemed like it was trying to take like story beats from the first two, while also trying to have its own story, but also be wholesome. It's kind of a culmination of these two characters' multiple journeys over the course of 30 years now. And what I liked most about Face the Music, more than even the appreciation of the previous two films, is that it's wholesome.
Yes, yeah, it's
There's it's
And
not like, oh, they have to, like, they do have to technically save the universe basically, but they
yeah.
do it in such like dumb fucking ways. Not to mention that Samara Weaving, and I completely forgot her name, Bridget Lundy Payne, who looks exactly like
Yes.
Keanu Reeves
Yeah.
as a teenager
Got
from
like the
Excellent Adventure.
fucking bowl
The same
cut.
haircut.
Yeah.
The two daughters, played by the previous actresses I mentioned, are really fun because they just take the kind of characteristics of those characters, which doesn't take a lot. The stoner skater kind of, but it's just wholesome because you have to kind of turn your brain off, not because it's a dumb movie or a bad movie, but because it's just like, I kind of just want to go along for the ride. You're on a roller coaster with these characters.
It's a movie that wants to make you feel good, like in a sense of just, being content or happy, one of the two, and not like worrying about like, oh, in everything there's this gray, there's this sense of gray morality that we've all gotten used to over time because, we just expect that. But it's a vision, or like it's a style of filmmaking that is not as present nowadays as it was in the past, where it's, you have these kind of B-level movies that have no ulterior motive. They do what they say on the tin, and what you read is what you get.
Yeah. And this just kind of goes, you're just along for the ride, like I said before. I don't know. We can't really say that much more. If you aren't a fan of Bill and Ted from the previous films, then you're probably not going to enjoy it because it's a lot more of the same, and not in a bad way, but in a, this is fun. So it's a fun movie. Check it out if you can.
The runtime is also appropriate, I think. It's
hour
like
and a half.
Yeah, like 97 minutes, give or take. But yeah, it didn't overstay its welcome. Did you see the post-credit scene?
I did, yeah. Where they're old and they're rocking out.
I gotta sit down.
Yeah.
It was a cute little. For all of the hype and like pageantry that Marvel has built up over the years, one thing that I really miss is a post-credit scene which literally doesn't matter.
Not
it's just like a fun goof. Yeah. It's just a fun goof.
Well, it's for the people who stayed to appreciate watching the credits and all the people involved. It's not meant to excite you for a sequel or anything like that. Right.
And I feel like in that vein, this is a good ending for this for the series or the franchise, I guess, as it were. And I know Keanu and Alex, they poured a lot of their heart and soul into it, and it's something that they've been wanting to do for a long time. So I'm really happy that they got to do it finally.
Yeah, much.
But that is it for me. Nick, what did you watch?
I watched so much fucking shit. Zach, I watched so much fucking shit. I'm sorry. Cover your ears, children. I watched so much fucking shit. You wouldn't believe it. I'm gonna have to run through it because I know we have a lot to talk about in the second half of this podcast. So, right after we finished recording the last episode, I sat down and I watched Guns Akimbo, starring Daniel Radcliffe on Amazon.
Mr. Radcliffe.
So I'll just sum it up really quick. He is like he fucking works for a video game company and all of that, but in his free time, he for some reason loves to troll people on the internet, and he decides to troll this game company that does like Death Race 2000 type of events where they pit criminals up against each other to kill one another. So it's kind of a mixture between Death Race 2000 and Gamer. Do you remember Gamer?
I do remember Gamer, yeah, unfortunately.
Good times, Gamer. Neville Dean Taylor,
Michael C. Hall.
Yeah, Michael C. Hall. Gerard
Butler.
Good old Jerry Butler. Let's drag his name through the mud 2 episodes in a row. But anyway, Daniel Radcliffe ends up trolling these people, and so he gets jumped by him, and he wakes up the next morning with guns nailed into his hands. And he's told he has to kill this other character, played by Samara Weaving, yet
Wow,
again.
she is everywhere.
She
Good
is
for her.
She's everywhere. And
She's
yeah,
good,
she's a
man.
great actress. I'm actually going to bring her up one more fucking time here in a minute. But yeah, he's being chased down by her, and he has to like basically try to find his way out of this competition. He's a real shithead. It's a fun time. Turn your brain off. It's super violent, and
This is the opposite of the brain off function that you utilized in Bill and Ted.
this is more of a 300 and not necessarily a Kingdom of Heaven type situation. Okay, so you don't need your brain for any of this.
I'm not even sure what that means, but okay.
Two violent sword and sandals films, Zach, without with one where you have to turn your brain off because it doesn't require a lot of brain knowledge, and the other one is a Ridley Scott film, so you have to kind of pay attention to the story. It's a
Or
it's a
turn
good
your brain
comparison.
off, depending on what you're watching.
It's a good comparison. All right.
I'll take your word for it.
So yes, you will. So let me move on to another gore fest where you can turn your brain off because it's just classic fun. Directed by McG, 2 films. You got The Babysitter, which came out 2 years ago, starring who?
Samara Weaving.
Samara Weaving as the titular babysitter, who just so happens to be part of a death cult and is trying to sacrifice her ward. What would you call a babysitter's
Babysittee.
babysittee? That sounds like a babysitting, and that's my nightmare. I don't want to be a part of a babysitting.
It's like the prequel to Children of the Corn, but after all the adults are dead.
Babysitting of the Corn. Oh my god! All right, so The Babysitter. It's a slasher flick, but with all of the great dark humor and comedy that comes from somebody who's just trying to have fun with making a movie. Great film. Recommend watching that because the sequel, The Babysitter Killer Queen, just came out this weekend, Zach.
Yeah.
So, both of them are great. The second film builds upon the first film while also ramping up the action and the stakes as well, while also introducing new characters. So, if you can, try watching them back to back because they actually kind of tie into one another. But you don't have to. You can also just watch the first one or just watch the
Oh, well,
second
that's
one.
nice. It's nice of you to tell me that I can just live my life the way I want to.
Don't patronize me. So
Or patronize them at Patreon.
Patreon.com/LesCameron
Bless
says,
you.
don't tempt me. Bless you, Casey. See, you know when she sneezes and you say bless you immediately, but you
Literally-
wait
It
to
didn't
damn my
sound
soul
like she
to
was
hell.
dying.
Because
Yours sounded like you were dying. I needed to know if I needed to call 911.
I could have
for
been.
you.
If I died from a sneeze, please make sure you laugh at me at my funeral.
Oh.
Oh, well, I mean, tell everyone else. Make sure that the tone is set. Like, hey, he said it was okay.
He
And plus it's on
requested this.
It's on this podcast for posterity. So, if I die
Everyone
from a
point and
sneeze,
laugh at the body.
everyone point and laugh. Also, make sure you play Kokomo from the Beach Boys at my funeral. That's not a part of it. I just please. Okay, that's a request. I also watched the Bill and Ted trilogy. We talked about that. Let's talk about more gore fests that are just kind of fun and dumb, and you can turn your brain off.
You went violent this week, I guess.
Not only this week, but also last week. This is over the last 2 weeks. The Boys season 2 dropped. So the first 3 episodes dropped on Amazon Prime. This is all on Amazon Prime. And then I watched the 4th episode this morning. Boy howdy, if you are a fan of The Boys season 1, then it's more of that. It's a lot more of that. It's a great Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg adaptation of a graphic novel series created by Garth Ennis. Evil. If you haven't heard of it, God, it's so hot in this damn room. If you haven't heard of it,
It's from my kissy emoji that I say.
it's fuck. Lost my train of thought because that goddamn kissing emoji. Bleh. It's set in a world where superheroes are real, although they're created by a super evil conglomerate called Voight. And basically, you have your Justice League, and they're all murderers, and they don't care, and they can get away with it. And It follows a series of I don't know really what to call them, kind of just degenerates, I guess, led by Billy Butcher.
Not very good people.
Yeah. Led by what is his name?
Carl Urban.
Carl Urban, thank you. Carl Urban, Dennis Quaid's son, Randy Quaid's nephew.
Quaid?
No, Jack Quaid, thank you. I'll get there eventually. And others, and they basically are trying to take down the superheroes and show the world for who they are. Great show. Very violent. First episode, somebody gets turned into mist because
the
this
Flash type character, right?
Yeah, runs right through them, and so that basically kind of sets the tone for the whole show. So I watched that. I watched Raised by Wolves on HBO Max, episodes 1 through 3, created by Ridley Scott. Fucking insane. All right, so this is an original. This isn't based off of anything, but it's an original story set in the future where we, as a planet Earth, have fucked it all up. So we sent out ships to other planets and other galaxies in order to colonize and start over again. But the two warring factions towards the end of Planet Earth's time, one was a ancient religious cult, and the other ones were atheists, and the atheists are the good guys. Who send they send millions of these ships, but we follow one story of two robots, one a mother, one a father, as they try to raise these pre-built, pre-packaged children and try to repopulate a new Earth. And I don't want to go too much into the story because it kind of just goes bonkers and I could be talking about it for hours, but check it out if you have HBO Max. Raised by Wolves. And there's also a podcast that runs alongside of it that's actually pretty good too. Also watch Cobra Kai season 1 and 2.
Jesus.
Go watch it. Yes, I did. I watched both seasons of Cobra Kai. And sorry, go ahead.
Did you watch Karate Kids 1 through 3?
I watched Karate Kids 2 and 3 because I watched Karate Kid 1 so many times that I didn't want to mention the Karate Kid movies because you can watch them for some references, but they also use flashbacks within the series of Cobra Kai that will put everything into context.
I saw a clip of I'm blanking on his character name, but Billy Zabka is recounting the first movie essentially to one of his pupils. So.
His character's name is Johnny Lawrence, and for some fucking reason he doesn't go by Johnny Law, which is what I would have done. Just saying, I would have put that on every single little bit of thing where my name would be, like driver's license, tombstone, all that kind of thing. Please put my name as Johnny Law on my tombstone if you could. That's another.
Can you
request.
write all this down because it's getting a little hard to keep track of everything.
Absolutely.
Between Kokomo and
Johnny Law,
pointing and laughing.
That's two things. It's okay. It's three things: pointing and laughing at me if I die by a sneeze, playing Kokomo by the Beach Boys, preferably at the time when you're pointing and laughing.
Pointing and laughing.
And then at the actual burying of my body, make sure that you put Johnny Law as my name, just to confuse the hell out of everybody.
You know that they they don't finish the tombstone as you're being lowered into the grave.
Make sure that they do though. Put in a blank tombstone at my funeral, and then just have somebody
someone on site.
Just somebody fucking chiseling it in. His name was Johnny Law, and then died by a sneeze. It'd be a great funeral. You know it.
It would be something, all right.
You would remember it.
Anyway, would remember it, yes.
Cobra Kai seasons 1 and 2, fucking fantastic. I actually had avoided it ever since it was released as a YouTube original series. And honestly, I'm really glad it got brought over to Netflix because it was dying over there. Well,
when it was over on YouTube Red, was it Red or Premium? I don't remember.
It doesn't matter.
But when it was over there exclusively, it was the show. If someone was telling you this premium service over at YouTube is not really great, they would generally go, "Oh, but Cobra Kai is really, really good though."
And it is.
Yeah, it's a good thing it finally got picked up by a distributor that will actually have a market for it, as well as I think they got renewed for season 3. Is that right?
Like as soon as they dropped season 1 and 2, they got renewed for season 3. But yeah, if you haven't checked out Cobra Kai and you were like, do I have to watch the Karate Kid movies? You don't have to watch the Karate Kid movies. Watch Cobra Kai season 1 and 2. It's got a great original story. If you're a fan of the original Karate Kid movies, you'll enjoy it even more. As long as you're like, oh yeah, I watched the Jaden Smith movie. That was my favorite. Get the hell out of here, Daniel LaRusso for life. Although he is a piece of shit in this series. So.
Oh, nice.
Well, he's a piece of shit once you finish season 2, you're like, oh wow, why have I supported him this entire time? Like, being a family man? Come on, man. Like, focus on your business. Don't focus on the dojo. You own a fucking car dealership. Anyway, moving on. I also watched Woke. Woke.
Yes, I have this on my
Hulu
watch list for Hulu as well.
So this just recently dropped. It stars Lamorne Morris as Keith. Keith Knight, based off of the real life of Keith Knight, the actual name. He's a cartoonist who has done multiple successful comics, and this follows his story after he experiences what happens every day in America. He gets attacked and falsely accused of being a robber by the police, and then they let him go once they realize it's not him, and he becomes woke to the culture of how African Americans are treated in America. But it also, as a side effect, kind of opens up his eyes to crazy shit, like markers coming to life. Yeah. But it's all meant to be like for context, really. It's like his Sharpie is telling him, hey, you need to like grow the fuck up and actually make a cartoon that means something and not this toast and butter Garfield bullshit.
Yeah, so, before he goes through his profiling incident, he, at least from what I gather from the trailer, it's, he's just kind of doing his own thing, and he's not really paying attention to any of that. He's kind of just like, if you go with the flow, then, you'll be fine. And, like, I don't really think about that kind of stuff, sort of thing. And then, once he kind of goes through this transformation, then he has to, like, actually consider those points. Yeah,
it's a refreshing look and refreshing take on this perspective, and honestly, I really appreciate it, and it's really fucking funny. Like JB Smoove plays the voice of like his Sharpie and stuff. It's great voice acting, great acting in general. One of the guys from Workaholics, I think, is on the show. The guy with the
the roommate.
I can't remember.
His name. The guy with the long hair, right?
Yeah, the Shaun White looking motherfucker. So
Shaun White, Carrot Top.
Whatever. Same thing. And then I started watching, and this is the one point where I was like, man, I can't. I started watching episode 4, and I'm disappointed in myself just bringing it up right now. I started watching episode 4 of Lovecraft Country, and from what people have been telling me, it's a good episode. But after episode 3, I think I'm done with Lovecraft Country.
Oh, no.
So Lovecraft Country, the series, is based off of a book written by a person. I don't have it pulled up. Thank you.
As opposed to a cat. That's good to know for context.
But it's based off of a book with several interconnecting short stories set in a universe where, if you have been following the show, a family discovers that they inherit like this house in the middle of the South, and it's set in the it's the mid 50s, I believe. Yeah. And they deal with racial prejudice, segregation, all of the things that were happening, Jim Crow laws, all of that kind of stuff. But there's also dark, evil elements. We've talked about it on the podcast before. Yeah. So I won't go too much into it. But after episode 3, I realized that, this is not going to be one story. I didn't know that it was a series of interconnected short stories.
I didn't either. This is news to me, what you're telling me right now.
So I'm not trying to turn you off from it, because it's still, it's an HBO original show, and it's filmed really well. It's acted really well. I still think Jurnee Smollett is fantastic. Episode 3, she is a really great actress in that episode. but the story and some of the visual effects really, really, really turned me off. And while it was trying to tell, I thought that we were starting off with one story, but then there was a small time skip after the end of episode 2 to episode 3, and a new story is happening, and it's almost as if episode 2 doesn't happen, and it throws me off very much so.
Okay.
So I mean, episode 4 can change all of that, but I'll watch it, and I don't think my opinion will change, and I think I'm done with Lovecraft Country.
Well, that's a shame. I am still waiting for it to get a little more progressed through the episodes, because I am still very much interested in continuing it. So maybe if you drop off, I'll be able to come back and tell you, how it concludes or progresses after you have stopped.
Well, I mean, like I said, I'll watch episode 4, and it really has to convince me. I'll show you a picture of the very.
I don't want to see it.
You don't want to see it.
Mm-mm.
It won't spoil
Nope.
anything. Okay,
I don't care. Nope.
It was gonna be the very moment where I was turned off from the show, and one all right, fine. Well,
I'll come to you after episode 4, and I'll be like, now you can tell me what that point was.
Okay.
But up to now, like, I don't want any more.
All right.
So.
All right. Fine. I also watched about about 10 minutes. I watched about 10 minutes of Cuties on Netflix.
Okay.
This is the controversial Netflix film, a French film about a young Middle Eastern girl. She's like 11, I believe, in France, and she's very much in a religious household and is told, like, hey, conform to this way of living and everything will be okay. And then she starts becoming friends with these other young girls who are trying to learn how to dance in a sexy way, like Coyote Ugly type of stuff.
Yeah.
I could not finish the film because I felt gross watching it, to be honest, and it was also 3 a.m, so I was tired. Like the way that Netflix tried to cover their ass by saying that it's really supposed to be a commentary on why, like, how all of this is bad.
That's really not okay. Yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and let you finish, and then I'll come back.
It feels like it was glorifying it and making it seem like it was this, like, it was the way that it was directed and the way that it was shot very inappropriate. And I really regret even starting the film, to be honest.
So I think that's probably a fair takeaway in the sense of, like, you feel uncomfortable. Now, me saying this, I have not watched any of it, so I can't comment from a personal point of view. However, I will say, on your point of Netflix trying to, like, adjust the dialogue on it in terms of, like, oh, well, it's a commentary on why it's bad. That's not Netflix. That's the director.
Sorry, I had a switch. Yeah.
Well, it's supposedly an autobiographical account of her life, and her growing up in the environment that she was in, and how we as a society tend to sexualize young kids, like, because they're girls, way too early. I mean, like, you really shouldn't be doing that anyways, no matter who they are, but, like, for sure not a kid.
Yeah.
And it's like an indictment of sorts, from what I gather, is what it's supposed to be. Now, that being said, again, I have not watched it. I probably will not watch it. But you coming away feeling uncomfortable, from what I gather, is how you're supposed to feel. So,
but I don't think it's the uncomfortability. It wasn't the uncomfortability in the story or the subject matter itself. It's the way that it is filmed. In that it's very counterintuitive to how the story is supposed to be told. Like, being from the perspective of the author that you said the story is based off of, it's the way that it's shot is, it keeps a shot on the children in very inappropriate positions, and
right.
it's just, it seemed it the way that it was filmed and made, it was very counterintuitive to the message that they were trying to bring.
Well, and there's something definitely to be said, I think, about like, okay, well, I understand what message you're trying to get across, but at the same time, you are still like in pursuit of saying, hey, don't sexualize young children.
Yeah.
You are sexualizing young children in a way.
Like scenes are way too long.
They are in front of a camera, and there is a style in like, you look at Natural Born Killers, they have there's this filming style where, hey, all this violence is super gratuitous, and it's a commentary on, how violent, Hollywood is, and, like how we as a society tend to eat up like those violent images and everything like that. So I think this is along the same lines. It's just not as palatable as, it really shouldn't be.
And even to be fair to that point, to that example of Natural Born Killers, like we as a society have changed drastically since that film has come out. We as just in general, we are way more sensitive to how things are portrayed and released when it comes to social media or news or etc. Films even. That I'm not trying to argue against my own point, but I'm saying like there are. People get upset whenever somebody says that they like a specific restaurant and that restaurant supports, the KKK in this, for example.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's just a matter of...
they should get upset with that.
No, with the restaurant, but I mean with a celebrity that says they like this restaurant.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, or that they were at this restaurant. So,
and that is true. I think as we have progressed. And I think this is a good thing that we are more aware of those kind of sensibilities and, how everything does have an effect like that. But at the same time, we look back just a month or two ago with the Beirut explosion, and there are handycam videos on fucking Twitter, cell phone videos on Twitter of people literally dying in the street after they're filming the explosion. So I don't think we're as civilized or progressed as we might want to believe we are. And I think that's where the style of filmmaking comes into play, is it forces you to confront the ugly truth of the world. And again, I'm probably not going to watch it because I already know how I feel about that content.
So you're not going to gain anything from watching it. I don't need to be
reminded of that. But I can see conceptually why someone who was filming something that was autobiographical to them might think like this is the best way to approach this, because it is going to get people talking, and sure enough, here we are talking about it.
Yeah, I guess the mission for that film was a success. It's just the execution in general.
Sort of, sort of, depending on who you ask.
To generalize it, I
think at this point, there are more people who are just angry with the movie existing as opposed to what the movie is actually about, which is kind of the whole fucking point. Again,
I mean, people are still going to watch it just out of blatant curiosity. I mean, I was watching it for the podcast, but even then, I couldn't commit to it fully because it's like watching a car crash, to be honest. It's like you can only watch for so long. You you may be able to glue your eyes to the scene for as long as you can, but there will come a point where you have to look away. And that was 10 minutes in for me. So enough about social commentary and how we are as a society. Let's dive into the news, Zach.
So you say that, but we have quite a bit of news, and some of it does have to do with social commentary.
Fuck!
So, we will get there. We'll start off light though. Officially, Doom Patrol has been renewed for a third season on HBO Max.
I haven't heard this news, so that's good. Yes.
It just literally came out like an hour ago, I think.
Fucking really?
We were like awesome. 20 minutes before we started. Yeah. The season isn't out. It's just the news dropped. Right. Like 20 minutes before we started recording, I pulled it up. So yeah, good stuff there. I know a lot of people, yourself included, quite enjoy the show. So I'm glad that you are getting more.
Yeah, you're right. years ago.
In animation news, Don Bluth has started a new hand-drawn animation company.
Nice.
By the name of Don Bluth Studios, and he hopes it will, quote, be the renaissance of hand-drawn animation. So it looks like one of the first things they're going to be working on is something called Bluth Fables, which is kind of along the same line as, like, say, Aesop's Fables, where it's... Why are you shaking your head?
I was just like, this guy really fucking wants his name over everything. But he's not the only person in Hollywood that wants that. You know, you look at fucking Blumhouse.
No. But I mean, like, literally every movie that came out from Don Bluth, you know, was Don Bluth Presents or Don Bluth's blah, 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 blah. You know, like, even fucking Dragon's Lair had Don Bluth on it. So I think it's probably just a holdover from the time. You know,
sure.
Tarantino does the same fucking thing. So
I guess that's just I don't know. That's
but I like
part of Hollywood.
Well, I mean, my approach to this is I like hand drawn animation and I like Don Bluth, so I am all for this. Please give me more.
All right, give me a. I need a brand new Land Before Time. I need one to give me all the social commentary about how we are as a society, but in a dinosaur-shaped
Land
film.
Before Time. You fucking normie. Try Rock-a-Doodle.
No, I'm not gonna try Rock-a-Doodle. Get the fuck out of here. How about Sword in the Stone? Can we meet in the
Disney.
middle? Is that not Don Bluth though?
I think you're probably thinking of Dragon's Lair. Nope.
No, I'm thinking it was a similar.
Disney.
All right, fucking fine. I'm gonna look up his filmography.
Quest for Camelot?
No, I'll look up his filmography. You continue.
Okay. While you do that, we'll move on. Wonder Woman has officially been pushed back yet again. Wonder Woman 1984, so the sequel to Wonder Woman, has officially been pushed back.
Titan AE. Sorry, Wonder Woman. I was saying Titan AE, but fuck it. It was a joke.
Titan.
It was a bad joke.
You know how jokes don't land when your mic cuts you off.
Well, it's gonna get.
So this is all I saw on my end.
No, it'll get picked up in the actual podcast. That's great. Thank you for bringing that up, though.
Yes, 1984 has been pushed back once again to this time to December 25th, so Christmas time. We will supposedly be seeing Wonder Woman 1985.
1984.
Any thoughts on that?
1984.
1984. Excuse me.
It's like they already made the sequel and they're releasing it in December. That's awesome.
Yes.
Set a year later.
1984 is still set for October or whatever, and then 2 months later they will be dropping the 20-minute sequel, Wonder Woman 1985.
Awesome! This is great news. This is an exclusive. I love this. I don't care. After reading and I'm sure you'll bring it up, but the success of Tenet and other recent theater releases, it looks like people aren't coming back. They just don't. They don't trust the cleaning procedures of all the movie chains. And honestly, I'm right there with them. So, you know.
So it's you mentioned Tenet, and I think this is probably in direct relation to the way Tenet performed over the Labor Day weekend. So I have that here. Domestically, it pulled in $20.2 million on its Labor Day release weekend, with another $78.3 million coming in internationally. So the worldwide was 146.2. So just under 150 million, which, to Warner's credit, they are at least press releasing like that's fine, in terms of the climate that we find ourselves in with COVID and all that.
It's better than zero.
However, that is a very stark example of just how dire releasing something in theaters is right now. And in fact, they had gone on record previously saying that they were waiting to announce anything more about 1984 based off of Tenet's success. So it looks like, despite what they're saying in the press release, because they go on like, hey, like, considering there's a global pandemic, this isn't looking too bad. Despite what they're saying there, it has shaken at least a couple stockholders enough to be like, can you not release it?
Like, I think,
and just keep holding on.
Even the people who are, like you said, the shareholders who should be fully invested in releasing it as soon as possible and getting their money's worth back. Most people, have common sense to where they can see that it's not going to perform as well as they were expecting, at least at the time of when they first originally set that premiere date, pre-COVID-19. So I think a lot of people are like, well, just release it in a different form, like release it on HBO Max or release it in a different format to where they can get even more of their money's worth, at least from their subscription service. Yeah.
So Tenet was a weird one too, because it had a couple like stipulations on it. Like this whole fucking release of Tenet is one of the weirder releases, I think, and not just because the release date kept getting pushed back, but also because they had things in place where like if you wanted to show it in a drive-in theater, the only way you could do that is if there were like 30 indoor theaters open in the same county or something like that. Some ridiculous nonsense. Maybe there wasn't a number on it. Maybe it was just, indoor theaters also have to be open. So then you're cutting yourself off from those places that are just outdoor, drive-in theaters. Yeah. Which seems weird unless you're worried about like people holding up a handy cam and recording it or something. But I mean, like at this rate, just make some fucking money, man.
From what I've been told,
like you also had. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, from what I've been told, even if you watched it in a drive-in movie theater, from what I've been told, the sound mixing is just atrocious. It's another example of Dunkirk and Interstellar and Dark Knight Rises, where the dialogue is on the bottom layer of all the sound mixing underneath the diegetic sound and the actual score. So it's really tough to hear some of the characters anyway. So it's not looking good.
Yeah, and then Warner also wasn't releasing opening weekend numbers until Sunday, so clearly they were holding on to those, hoping that that they would get some bump throughout the weekend, a bigger bump than they had initially gotten on the premiere day or premiere night rather. So like that's weird, like just like such business, like going on in this, that it's like a little disconcerting. I mean, granted, like all movie making is a business at this point, so it's not that surprising. It's just when you see it at this level, it's kind of like, Jesus, guys, like you're not going to get the money you invested into it. Unfortunately, you're just not. Your best option is probably going to be going VOD, and like even then, some movies don't have that ability. Like I don't have a separate link on here, but I think somewhere near the bottom of this Variety thing that I have, it talks about the New Mutants haul, which was really bad because it sank like 75% from when it opened.
Well, it's getting lambasted by critics.
Yeah, between that and just like its whole production history being a fucking mess, it's not that surprising. But yeah, right now it's just domestically, it's at 12.3 million. And granted, its budget is probably way, way less than Tenet. I think just the production budget of Tenet was 200 million. Yeah. So that's not even taking into account marketing and all that. And I believe New Mutants was probably around, I don't know, like maybe under 175 million, I would imagine. Something like that. But yeah, like you have these weird stipulations in place that were made before we were in this pandemic, and now like because there's no way around that, and because we're in a situation where people just won't fucking buckle down and fix it. Like this Wonder Woman thing, they keep pushing it back. I don't know how to tell you this, guys, but we're not going to be any better off in December. Like, you just you're fucked. Yeah. I'm sorry to tell you. Like,
even if the vaccine came out today or tomorrow, like, not everybody's going to want to get vaccinated. The same people who don't want to wear masks probably don't want to get vaccinated with something that has come out so quickly. So there's still going to be people who are going to potentially get sick, people who are still asymptomatic that go to the movie theaters. So there's still the chance to cause another outbreak by just opening up your movie theaters with 100% capacity. So, yeah, to what you said, it's not going to get any better by December. So, which is post-election too. A lot of the reasons why, just from the very beginning of this whole outbreak and situation, we won't go into politics, but that's a lot of the reason why we are where we are right now is because of where we are as a country. So,
right, exactly. So I can tell we're going a little long here on each one. So I just want to bust through a couple real quick.
You got it. No worries.
The trailer for Dune has dropped.
Yes. Denis Villeneuve.
Did you? Yes. From Blade Runner 2049 fame, amongst many other things.
Yes.
Did you watch the trailer?
I did, yes. And I bought the book right after.
Nice.
So I'm gonna try to read it before the movie comes out, but we'll see if it even comes out.
Literally, the only thing I know about Dune is sand and sandworms. That's about it. So.
Come on. The whole planet is made of this magical cocaine powder that makes you super strong and powerful. So,
well, the trailer looks good. I'll watch that movie.
Nice. Well, please do, and everyone else, please watch it, because after what happened to Blade Runner 2049, I lost my faith in humanity a little. So,
I'm glad that he got this, though. Like coming off of 2049, like getting Dune, like that's a big get
with a bigger budget. With a bigger budget than 2049.
I'm glad that because usually it's the reverse, where it's like, oh, you had a pretty big budget for 2049 and it didn't do super great. Sorry, buddy, you're going sub 100 mil now.
Yeah.
But no, it went the opposite way, so I'm very happy about that.
Me too.
Adult Swim has canceled Venture Brothers after season 7. And then, oddly enough, has come out with a statement saying we are looking into continuing Venture Brothers in any way we can. And I'm like, well, why don't you just not cancel it?
I think because they're not seeing the numbers from viewers that they have been seeing over the last 17 years. But fuck you.
No, I get why someone would cancel a show. There's like numbers being the general reason for that. But for you to cancel it, and then after like a fairly sizable fan outcry, and like, why would you cancel it? There was going to be another season on the way, and all this other stuff. You come back and you're like, this is from Adult Swim. We also want more Venture Brothers, and have been working with Jackson and Doc to find another way to continue the Venture Brothers story. So there's been
so don't cancel it.
Some circulation going on about like it might don't cancel it. That's the easiest thing to do. It might be landing in HBO Max territory since they're owned by the same Warner Media company. So I mean that wouldn't be too bad. Yeah, you get away with a lot more.
I would be able to watch it
basic cable.
I would be able to watch it a lot easier than watching it on CartoonNetwork.com or whatever.
So I guess we'll just have to see how that goes. But for now, Venture Brothers is canceled.
Boo.
So. But on the flip side, Walking Dead is set to end after season 11. So probably an ending that I think, unless you're a diehard fan, then you're probably more okay with.
Do you have a semicolon after this? Because if not, then I can upset you further.
I do. Okay. I do have a semicolon after this. So Walking Dead is set to end after season 11, but in its place are like 5 different spinoffs. So let me see if I can pull it up here.
What The Walking Dead? Is Fear the Walking Dead still going, or was that canceled? I believe that
it's still going. And then you have what's the
Outsiders, Walking Dead Outsiders or something?
No.
It's Daryl and Carol.
Yeah, so one of the spin-offs that has been commented now at the same time as this announcement of the season 11 being the end of the series is a Daryl and Carol spin-off.
Boo.
I just want to see I want the title to be like Daryl and Carol do Dallas or some shit. I don't know.
Daryl and Carol come back to Dallas. In a zombie apocalypse.
And then they are also talking about a anthology series along the lines of Black Mirror, Twilight Zone, yada yada yada, called Tales of the Walking Dead, which they describe as, quote, an episodic anthology with individual episodes or arcs of episodes focused on new or existing characters, backstories, or other standalone experiences.
So
basically your catch-all for when you don't want to write anything more than 3 episodes.
So Telltale's The Walking Dead.
Probably something like that.
TV
we
form?
might see Lee show up and
no.
And then I'm trying to find the one that's already we've already seen the trailer and everything.
Yeah, it's the one. It's like The Walking Dead Outsiders. It's about the teenage kids.
It's not called that. It's a dumber name than that. That was the one that was rumored, but the name is way dumber. World Beyond. Walking Dead World Beyond. That's set for October 4th, so no matter what, there will always be more Walking Dead.
It's such a dumb fucking name. You're absolutely right. I'm sorry. World Beyond.
I told you.
Fuck. Stupid.
Ewan McGregor has officially confirmed. Take that with italicized confirmed. That shooting for the Obi-Wan series will begin in spring 2021. Now that shooting schedule has already been pushed back a couple times because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
We'll see if it sticks to that.
It's not canceled though.
It was also confirmed that it will be so far at the moment it is just going to be a 1-season show.
I'm okay
so
with
after that. In line with Watchmen, after that season is done, it's done for now.
Right.
Could change, but that's what they're working off of right now. Some more Fast 9 actors have come out and kind of dropped the ball on Fast and the Furious probably is going to space.
Woo! Yeehaw! I don't know what the yeehaw was for. I don't know. It's fucking space, man. Where else are you going to go? They've been all over the world. Rio, Japan, Mexico, any urban area of the United States, London. So where else are you going to go?
Space. I look forward to Fast 10, where they have left the Milky Way galaxy altogether and are now just floating through the Andromeda system willy-nilly.
I'm all about family. But where are your family? The whole Earth is my family. Mi familia. I don't know what the Spanish word for Earth is. Earth mi familia.
Michelle Rodriguez kind of let slip a little bit in an interview that more or less it sounds like they're going to space in Fast 9. She joins Ludacris, who had a similar interaction in an interview not that long ago. So I guess that's what's happening.
Nice.
And God damn it, now I have to watch all these fucking movies.
I'm telling you, man. I'll bring the beer. We'll watch them.
Gosh.
You have to watch every single one, too. It's not like you could skip one.
I've already watched the first 3.
Okay.
I stopped at Drift.
Drift, technically, you have to watch them in chronological order so it makes sense, because there's some story plot lines, and they'll even be brought up in Fast 9, Zach. So you need to watch 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 3, 7... No, wait, sorry. It's 3, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I appreciate all the work that you put into that. I did not pay any attention to that order.
Oh, okay. Well, fine. Fuck me then. What am I even here for?
So space, yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on, a RoboCop television series is apparently in development. It will be a prequel series in which there is no RoboCop.
There is no RoboCop. OCP, the series. Wait.
The thing that got me in this interview, so it's an interview with Neumeyer, the original, is it creator or scriptwriter for RoboCop?
I don't know. I just know, was it McTiernan that did the original? I believe so.
Writer.
Okay.
So Ed Neumeyer, he was doing this interview, kind of talking about, what their plans are for the franchise are going forward. And he said something near the end here that just kind of got me. And it's like, I fucking hate this trend that we're doing. I'm so over it. Let's see.
Like they need to have an entire TV series where they give you the reason why RoboCop needs to exist.
No, it wasn't even that. It was like, oh hey, you remember the dirtbag villain of that movie? Well, maybe he wasn't as bad as you thought he was. Or you're like, maybe there's a reason he's as bad as you saw. Like, no, I don't. Why? Why are you doing this?
Like the dad from that '70s show. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a thing.
Do you remember that part in RoboCop where RoboCop shoots that guy in the
shoot
dick?
His dick off?
Yeah, shoots that guy's dick off, man. It's crazy.
Was that 1 or 2 though?
That was 1.
Oh,
because it was the grocery store.
Oh.
Yeah. Or the convenience store.
Okay, I gotta go.
That's fine. That's fine.
Mandalorian Season 2 has a premiere date. October 30th is when it will be dropping.
Ooh,
so, yay, more Mando.
Happy Halloween, everybody. Baby Yoda. Just for you.
Yes, the best Halloween present that we could have asked for. Borat 2 was rumored to be filming with a bunch of, photos coming out about a week ago, and I didn't really mention it because I don't really like to do that, but now it seems not only has it already been filmed, but it has possibly already been screened.
Yep.
So that might just be a thing waiting in the wings, and I'm not sure what a Borat movie in the year of our Lord 2020 looks like.
How can people not know who Borat is? It wasn't that long ago.
Well, they weren't born. Yeah, they weren't born. That's why.
Oh, so it's all fucking millennials that he's interviewing and stuff. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Or Gen Zers. Sorry, not millennials. We're millennials.
Yes. Yeah. So I guess we'll just wait to see if that shows up.
Yep.
At some point.
It'll just get dropped on HBO Max.
Yeah. Well, the running theory right now is that if it's going to get released anytime soon, it'll be literally right before the election. So.
Yep.
But again, that's all rumors and whatnot. But there seems to be some substantial evidence here. So take that how you will. Moving on, Sony is developing a live-action Silk series. For those who don't know, Silk is a Spider-Verse character. I believe she's Korean-American. Let me make sure I get that right. Yes, Korean-American.
But it's a comic series set in the Spider-Man
universe. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This would fall in line with the deal that Lord and Miller were given as kind of like the Kevin Feige sort of positions in terms of the Spider-Verse Sony property deal.
So is it animated or is it live action?
This is live action.
Okay.
So it's not one of the animated ones that was part of that deal either. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but there's actually a Silk movie in the works not too long ago.
Huh.
Well, I say that, but it was around the time when they were still planning doing the Sinister Six movies and all that.
Yeah.
And what was it? Black. Was it this one?
Black and Silver? Silver Black, yeah, or Black Silver.
Silver and Black. Yeah. So this is, I guess, how that has evolved. But
I still want that Secret Agent Aunt May movie, but all right, I guess we'll compromise.
you might get it in Spider-Verse too.
Fuck, that's cool.
Robert Pattinson was diagnosed officially with COVID-19, and thus the production for The Batman has once again shut down.
I'm so excited for that movie, but damn it, be safe out there, everybody.
Yes, be safe. That movie will never come out.
No, I think it's definitely. I think it's already rumored to be slated for October 2021. But I could definitely see it being pushed back to December of next year, which sucks. Yeah. But just wear a damn mask.
But yeah, I don't want to make light of any like suffering or anything like that. It's just like kind of crazy to me how much because every production has been affected by the pandemic for sure. Mm-hmm. But I think this is probably the most publicized version of that, where they've gone from rescheduling shooting, rescheduling release dates. Yeah. There was like a mini walkout or something over safety concerns, if I remember correctly, when the whole pandemic started like really getting rough over here back in March. And it's just like, fuck, this is like a PR nightmare. I feel so sorry for anyone who has to fucking deal with this.
Well, before, and I won't go into a huge tangent, but before we had movies that were basically in post-production ready to be released as the pandemic was starting, and now we're dealing with movies that were in the middle of like pre-production filming that are now being delayed. So it's like we're going to have a huge expanse of nothing for a long while.
Yeah, or, I'm trying to think who it was. There was someone. I believe it was the Homer for Harley Quinn, who that show I guess has not been greenlit for a third season yet at HBO Max. I'd say that, but the second day of DC fandom is today. So
it's happening right now.
It might have been confirmed as we're talking right now. But traditional animation, or even just more CG animation, I would think would be a pretty safe way to kind of get some stuff out there. So it's a little surprising to me that something like that has been as lauded and pulled in as many numbers as it has for the service has not already been greenlit again.
Yeah,
but I guess
we can't say.
What do I know? I'm not a money man.
You're not? Fuck.
I wish I was. I wish I was money man.
Yeah, please. And give me money. Money man.
Yes. In December, there will be a limited theatrical release followed by a home release of a new edit / restoration of The Godfather Part 3. This is supposedly more in line with Francis Ford Coppola's original vision. How much I believe of that, I don't know, because the third movie still exists, and he was like, it's one of those things where like obviously there's studio meddling to some effect, but also like you were in charge.
Yeah.
So like,
I mean,
the Part 3 will be retitled as Mario Puzo's, who's the original author of the Godfather books. The Godfather Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone. Or Corleone. I can't remember how they pronounce it in the movie. They go back and forth.
Corleone.
It's Corleone, but like I feel like I've heard at least 3 people in each movie go Corleone.
Yeah.
But that was supposed to be the original title before Paramount made them change it for just a straight up Godfather Part 3.
Yeah.
Which I think would fall more in line because Part 3 is pretty detached from the other two, even though Michael's still there, but whatever. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing. We're seeing this more and more. We're gonna get the Snyder Cut Justice League in a little under a year now. So I don't know if maybe again this is like kind of a something that's come about as a result. Sorry, I can't talk. As a result of the pandemic, or if this has been in the works for a while or what. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. For fans of
I'll
Godfather
probably
Part
watch
3,
it.
yeah. I mean, I still have to rewatch 1 and 2.
I'm not a fan of Godfather. Okay, Godfather Part 3 is not. It's not a good movie, but it's not like the end of the world. You know, I think a lot of people react as negatively as they do to it because it's such a precipitous drop in quality comparatively.
Yeah.
But like, it's still like a fine movie. I wouldn't pick it over the other two to watch if I was only going to watch one Godfather movie. And I might even leave it off if I was going to watch both Godfather movies.
Well, I was going to say, like, and help me out if this is a poor comparison, but it's a Dark Knight to Dark Knight Rises kind of drop.
I think that's probably, yeah, I think that's a fairly good comparison, ignoring the fact that Batman Begins is kind of like a ho-hum, you know, standard.
But, okay, fine. Batman Begins, Dark Knight
origin story.
Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, which would you rather watch?
Oh, Dark Knight Rises. Or, sorry. I was considering. I for some reason, even though I said Dark Knight Rises, I was thinking Dark Knight. No, I'd probably watch Batman Begins over Rises.
Yeah, all right then.
I didn't say it was bad. I just said it was like a standard origin story.
Ho-hum. Yeah, but origin stories are not inherently good.
I won't kill you because I'm not the one that's like, I'm not the literal train that's exploding you or anything, but I'm not going to save you either. Like, that's some like gray bullshit there, Batman. Like, you can't get away from that in a court of law.
Yeah, but he does.
Okay, I know we've got like 10 minutes left. Yep. Unfortunately, all 3 of the remaining stories are all the big ones.
Why did you leave the big ones for last?
So,
okay, fine.
I'm gonna start with one that I probably have the least amount to say about, which is there is this ongoing issue between Warner Media and Ray Fisher in these allegations of abuse from Josh Whedon and Jeff Johns. Basically, you know, threatening his job, and when Whedon came in for reshoots, being in unspecified ways volatile and abusive. Warner Media came back and said, "Hey, we're launching a independent investigation into this. We hope Ray Fisher cooperates with us while we try to track this down." Well, Ray Fisher came back and said, "Well, if we're going to do this, I want it coming from this particular group as opposed to the one you're probably going to send me. Yeah. So if you send the right group, then yeah, I'll talk to them, and then I want to be able to go back to my my SAG group and, you know, kind of relay what has been told to me there, just so I can protect everyone and their confidentiality." Cue Warner Media being like, "Well, we tried to set up a meeting with you for that. Nothing came about it. You were ignoring our calls." Ray Fisher then drops a screen cap of an email he sent to his team about like how that was going. Like, hey, the person that they sent over to me was not who they said they were. They were with the group that I didn't want to talk to. Also, they had someone on the line and didn't inform me of that. So that's why I ended the call. So like, there's this whole back and forth going on between Warner Media and Ray Fisher. Now you have Jason Momoa coming to Ray Fisher's defense and saying he stands with him in these allegations. It is, by all accounts, a mess. I don't really know where to fall here. My gut says company is going to be skeezy.
Yep.
Especially with, you know, like trying to undermine an investigation and kind of tool it to their way. So I think, you know, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know if you have any other thoughts on
No,
it.
basically what I was going to say is when I was reading the articles, or at least reading the headlines, I initially thought, okay, well, I have to defend Ray Fisher. I have to defend the actor who is using these accusations. It's the same as any other accusation when it comes to what you read in the news. I typically, like, just initially, without having any information, I want to believe the person who is saying these things. Like, obviously they have something to say. Obviously something is going on.
They have less to gain by bringing it forward than a company does for protecting their image. You know, like Ray Fisher can come out of this and be like, well, my Hollywood career is done, essentially. You know, like, I'm fucked. Especially with Warner, because they control such a large percentage of the
film industry
environment, you know.
But basically all I was going to say is I want to wait for testimonies from not only Joss Whedon and Jeff Johns, which I believe they haven't come out when it comes to this. I think they're just standing by their lawyers and their legal team.
They have not.
Yeah, so they're covering themselves, not to mention Warner Brothers and their own legal team, trying to make sure that they are saving their company's asses, even though they don't have that much to lose by just being honest with not only Ray Fisher but the world, I guess, in this example.
Right.
So I agree with what you were saying. You know, company's going to be sleazy. You know, they're going to find some reason to get away or get around doing the right thing. But it's just, there's a lot of conjecture at this point. Honest, I'd much rather see statements, public statements to the public at large about this whole situation.
And the thing with these kinds of investigations is there's also not a lawsuit at the moment. So, like, even if you were wanting to wait to see what happened in a court, well, that's not really up there at this point. It's just kind of like back and forth, you know, like, I know what you did, you're fucking lying. You're fucking lying. Like, it's basically a no you argument at this point. But yeah, I think we're probably in the same position where, in terms of our gut, just with this whole thing. So we'll just have to see what more comes of that. But moving on, John Boyega did a GQ interview about a week ago, I think, in which he kind of detailed his experience on the Star Wars set, amongst other things. But that's probably what most people are taking away from it. It does not sound like a good time, and he has not come away from it feeling particularly loved by Disney in particular, especially considering how he started in the sequel trilogy. Basically what it comes down to is he was propped up as kind of this main character with The Force Awakens, and in the subsequent sequels, he, along with subsequent sequels, he and other people of color were sidelined in lieu of their white counterparts being kind of elevated more so, i.e. Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver. Right. So he's mentioned Kelly Marie Tran, even Oscar Isaac, where they just kind of got the shaft. And a lot of that seems to be in relation to the blowback that, I don't know if you remember, when the trailer for The Force Awakens first dropped, there was a boycott. What do you call it? Like, people wanted to boycott the movie because there was a black person in Star Wars.
The shitty part of the internet.
When Finn pops up and pulls off his stormtrooper helmet. And you can see kind of this through line where you end Force Awakens, he's wielding a lightsaber, and he's very clearly front and center, alongside Daisy Ridley. And then you get to Last Jedi, and he kind of gets shoved off to the side to do his own thing, or literally learn the same fucking lesson that he did in the first movie again. And then in Rise of Skywalker, he's just kind of running around and screaming the whole time.
He's a part of the background, essentially.
Right, which is a shame because for anyone who's seen him in other things, he's amazing.
Attack the Block.
I don't really think they understood what a gem that they had to utilize here, and it's a damn shame. But yeah, I want to find the quote here because it's pretty telling about how he feels about the whole thing.
I have to blame a lot of this, especially on the lack of plan when they had for the sequel trilogy. They had no structure or plan for all three of these movies when it came to the characters, and it's obviously felt throughout the story of each of these films. So that's definitely a large contributing factor when it comes to his character, not to mention the other actors involved in their roles. So
yeah, and I got the feeling too when I was reading this interview. For anyone curious, I would definitely give this interview a read because it's a great interview. For sure, props to
it's very candid.
The candidness of it. But then it's also interesting to look at it from an outsider's point of view in terms of like how Disney approached this, and I came away with it feeling like, so like it sounds like a lot of this was fucked up by Last Jedi. There's kind of a knee-jerk reaction to some of the people who were like, well, Force Awakens was basically a New Hope retread, which it was, but at the same time, if you have a plan, like maybe stick to the plan and see where you end up. So if we had Finn originally, who was supposed to be a much larger presence in the sequels, then fucking keep that. Yeah. You know, and I think Last Jedi, it seems like where things kind of got a little wonky. Okay, so when asked how does he reflect on the involvement of the trilogy after it's been concluded, Boyega says, quote, "It's so difficult to maneuver. You get yourself involved in projects and you're not necessarily going to like everything, but what I would say to Disney is do not bring a black character or do not bring out a black character, market them to be much more important in the franchise than they are, and then have them pushed to the side. It's not good. I'll say it straight up." And then he goes on to talk about Naomi Ackie, Kelly Marie Tran, Oscar Isaac, who also suffered similar treatment. And he goes on to say, quote, like, you guys knew what you were going to do with Daisy. You knew what you were going to do with Adam. You knew what to do with these people, but when it came to Kelly Marie Tran, when it came to John Boyega, you know fuck all. So what do you want me to say? What they want you to say is, I enjoyed being a part of it. It was a great experience. No, I'll take that deal when it's a great experience. But they gave all that nuance to Adam Driver. They gave all the nuance to Daisy Ridley. Let's be honest. And Daisy knows this. Adam knows this. Everybody knows I'm not exposing anything. So, yeah, it just sounds like kind of a mixture between, like, studio meddling or, like, running to... without like a clear finish in mind, and then taking a character from a group of people who is disproportionately shown on screen, and especially in big budget sci-fi films like this, or just blockbusters in general, and then sidelining him for a more palatable experience for those screaming about like, oh, why would there be a black stormtrooper? That doesn't make any sense. Blah 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 blah. Like, it sounds fucking miserable, man. And it's unfortunate that he had to go through that.
I think what is going to happen, and Oscar Isaac has obviously he's moved past this, and I'm only using him as an example because he's a very high profile actor as of right now, as of today, because he's featured in Dune. He's one of the main characters in Dune.
I mean, he was in X-Men as well.
He was
even though
Drive, Ex Machina. He's been in several films where he's the main lead, and he's fantastic in it. And you should watch his filmography. And Kelly Marie Tran is going to be in a Disney Pixar film where she's the main character, which is outstanding. that she's going to get another opportunity to showcase her acting abilities. I think what's going to happen with John Boyega is he's going to move on from Disney. I think he's still contracted to be in films for the studio, I believe. Maybe not Disney, but...
I don't think so. I think he's all
done? Okay. Then I think he's going to move on. He might go the independent route. He might go on to make other temple... I mean, he's a high-profile name, but...
and he's already got independent stuff under his belt. You know, he did Detroit, he did Attack the Block. What was the Netflix one? Imperium. I think that's what it's called, or Imperial Dreams, not Imperium. Very different movie. Imperial Dreams is the Netflix one. So yeah, he has his leg in the door, basically where anyone would want him. You know, like he's such a presence, and I'm very excited to see what he does next. It's just a shame that we could have had that presence in Star Wars front and center, or at least like adjacent to what is actually happening, as opposed to like going off on side adventures and doing fuck all. It's just a shame. I've said it once and I'll say it again.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it again. All right, fine.
No. Well, I did say it.
I know, and I'm just messing with it.
So, last up is probably one of the biggest stories, if not the biggest. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences has announced a new inclusion eligibility requirement for Best Picture submissions. So basically, it is a set of, or let's see how to phrase this, a list of things that you need to meet a minimum of to be able to be considered for a Best Picture nomination.
Prerequisites.
Yes. So I don't know if you want to go through all of these, or if you have a specific thing in mind that you want to talk about. We are running a little long.
We're running a little. It's funny how all three of these stories are, kind of interconnected. All of these three big stories, but when it comes to inclusion, it's sad to see after the fact, after we see these interviews with actors like John Boyega and other actors who are screaming at the rooftops for change, that we are finally seeing it, just in the weirdest way possible. And I say the weirdest way because it's the most high profile event of the year. And after a year of COVID-19, it'll be interesting to see what, and this is for the 2021 Oscars, right?
No, it is not. So 2021, it will not be held to this standard. Starting with the 94th and the 95th, so 2022 and 2023, you will be required to submit this form, but it will not bar you from qualifying if you don't meet certain points until 2025.
Okay.
So you kind of have like a 3-year buffer there before it really kicks in.
I think that's allowing studios to adjust their film schedule or their film release schedule to fit in.
They've responded. The Academy has responded. It says it's pretty much in direct response to the fact that we have an ongoing pandemic, and because everybody's schedules have been getting pushed farther and farther forward, that it wouldn't necessarily be fair to hold them to these new standards, considering that these movies were supposed to be released already. But even that said, we won't even see these forms being submitted until 2022 at the earliest, and even then, they won't disbar you from being considered for a Best Picture nomination until 2025. So basically what this boils down to is these inclusion standards are wanting studios to submit things that have either leads or supporting actors who are from disenfranchised or less or underrepresented groups from certain areas, whether they be people of color, women, LGBTQ plus community, just any of those, underrepresented groups. either in front of the camera or behind it. So there's different kind of standards that they're holding to. Basically, there's 4 areas in which you can qualify, or you can use to help you qualify, and you only have to meet the requirements of 2 of those areas. So, as long as you meet 2 of the 4 points, then you're good.
I have a major problem with this, just in general. The fact that it needs to be a thing, just in the first place, that they need to set like these ground rules, that this should have always been something that was in place regardless of the requirements. It makes it feel like it kind of diminishes the actual, and I'm never going to win an Oscar. I'll just go ahead and throw that out into the universe, but it will diminish the actual feeling of accomplishment for the winners of said Oscars, in my opinion. It would if I was in their shoes. Just because I feel like they're kind of pigeonholing their own films in order to involve inclusion. And I realize that sounds negative, and it kind of is counterintuitive to the whole reason why this system is being put in place, but it's almost it seems like a knee-jerk reaction for this industry, and it's, like I said before, after the fact, after all of these, not hashtag cancel the Oscars or anything because of the lack of inclusion, because people have been saying this for decades upon decades in the Hollywood industry. But basically where I stand right now is this shouldn't have to be something like, I'm glad that they're finally putting something like this into place, but it should have never been something that, it shouldn't have never been created, because it should have already been something that was, this should have already been a mindset that was already in people's minds when it came to voting for the winners of the Oscars. They should be including films with African-American leads that are telling these powerful stories, and they should be constantly winning. We shouldn't have people like Meryl Streep. Has she ever won an Oscar? She's won an Oscar, hasn't she?
She has, but she's been nominated like
a bajillion times,
14 times.
And I realize that's a bad example, because it's fucking Meryl Streep, but nobody should be nominated 18 times without having won an Oscar, because Hollywood realizes that actor has talent, and it's never realized. I'm just generalizing, but it's frustrating. But I'm glad that we're seeing greener pastures, in the future.
Right. So I don't want to put you too much on the spot, but I do want to kind of respond to some of the points you raised, and that it is unfortunate that this is something that is needed, but at the same time, look who we have in office as our president.
It's the same people are in office in Hollywood.
All the years, the decades of underrepresentation leading up to now, it's like people aren't just going to do it because they want to. Like the power of those in control is only going to be diminished when we allow those who are not in control to kind of get into the same headspace that they are, the same view that they are.
I agree.
So yes, I agree. It is unfortunate that it is necessary, but I do think it's necessary. Now, that being said, I think that this is a minimal step, and will probably, in fact, change nothing.
Not for the first couple of years.
Because basically the way... Well, even, they might tool some things here and there, but as they are right now, these rules, I guess... they don't really stop the problem fully. It's a good step, it's a good first draft, but after that, that's kind of what it seems like. And the reason that is because you can qualify for Best Picture consideration without having anyone, basically by having a good internship program and a good marketing program. Basically, no one that would be seen or like have a direct hand in the making of the movie. So you're still gonna have, like, despite everyone like fucking losing their shit because 1917, that's all white people, you won't get best picture consideration or whatever bullshit. Yeah, that would, because they had a good marketing team full of, you know, people from different ethnic groups and different, you know, representation, as well as a large intern program. So, like, just because, you know, the provision is in there that's like, hey, you can qualify if you have a black main lead, or 30% of your supporting cast is from an underrepresented group or something like that, that doesn't necessarily mean that that is going to be what qualifies it. So you're still going to get your period pieces. And in fact, like, it's about as much of a tepid response as you would probably expect from the Academy, in terms of, like, we don't want to rustle any feathers, but we also want to make it seem like we're doing something. Like, that's kind of what I'm getting.
Oh, that number 30%, it could have been lower before.
I think
I agree. Like, the way that they were probably negotiating the rules for this, it could be like, 10% of the cast has to be, you know, LGBT, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And, like, you don't even need to hit, like, both that 30% and the lead. That's part of the subsection A. So if you want to qualify for section A, then you can have at least one of the lead actors or a significant supporting actor from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group, or your general ensemble cast can be at least 30%, all from underrepresented groups, or your main storyline or subject matter can, you know, focus on the struggles of those underrepresented groups. So it's not even like you could just have a black supporting woman in your film and boom, you're qualified. Yeah. And then you partner that with a marketing team that, you know, I think, or even the crew composition, at least 30% of your film's crew, this is part of the section B, at least 30% of your film's crew is from the following underrepresented groups, and then it goes on. It's like, you literally, bare minimum, that's all you need to do. And you still qualify for Best Picture. And that's not even taking into account that it's just for Best Picture. Like, all the other categories are still the same. And they did do a little Q&A after the fact, and were like, yeah, it'd be a little weird, you know, if, you know, you had to qualify for something like Best Animation, you know, like, because a lot of the animation stuff is from independent companies, so it'd be a little weird if, even though your animated movie, it has a underrepresented group and the lead, and the subject matter is tackling something important like those underrepresented groups and what they face, but because you don't have interns, then that would disqualify you, right? Like, it doesn't make sense to hold that to the same standard. But most of your Best Picture nominations are coming from, if not huge studios, independent studios that are big enough to have at least a decent marketing team. So, like, I don't want to put you on the spot and make you look bad or anything, but the whole, like, I don't want this to be diminish the accomplishment of those who are given the award with these in place. Like, it's the same fucking thing that it always has been. It's just now in writing, so you can't fudge the numbers or anything.
I think, no, you're not putting me on the spot. In fact, I was probably talking more out of emotion and from my own knee-jerk reaction to reading the article itself. But having you explain it to me in a much better fashion than me reading it, apparently, my comprehension is shit. But thinking about it now, I realize that it is in fact way more inclusive. And while I still stand by the fact that it should have always existed, like this, like just hiring interns and people from these I'm so sorry, from these overlooked groups should absolutely have already been in place. But all of this news story is just to say, like, this is just to be nominated for an award. And again, this award, who at the same time, who gives a shit? If you
I mean, like Green Book won, right?
fucking
like,
Green Book won, so that should be just like the kind of fucking banner behind it.
Sorry to Bother You wasn't nominated. Us wasn't nominated. Like, say what you will about Us, but that thing should have been nominated for some shit. Like, even if it was just Best Actress.
Hopefully, it doesn't change people's opinions about who wins the Oscar. Obviously, good stories are always going to be told in Hollywood. It's just a matter of trying to find them, and hopefully have them still be made. But yeah.
And I think with these kinds of things, it's important to remember to listen to the groups that it mostly affects, like those underrepresented groups that we were talking about. Like, see what they're saying, before you like kind of reach that reaction, that knee-jerk reaction, or like act on that knee-jerk reaction. Because we all have knee-jerk reactions, right? Like, we all see like a headline and we're like, well, that's fucking, I don't
blame
get
Twitter.
that.
But yeah.
Sure, yeah. I mean, like, that's... People only really read headlines most of the time nowadays, so... but I think if you take the time to look at the groups that are underrepresented and to look at the people who are trying to push this initiative to have more inclusivity, then you can kind of get at least where they're coming from. Like, why is this... what's the word? Patronizing, or why is it not enough? That kind of thing. And then you just, like, kind of put that in with your own internal like thought process, and I think you'll probably get to the right place. Because I imagine that most of the problems that people have with this are just not like taking the time to read and think about it, because ultimately, again, it comes to nothing. Essentially, it's a very small step. It's a good small step, but it's a small step in the grand scheme of things.
It's just for a little tiny golden man, folks. That's it.
Yes,
Zach,
and that is all the news.
Good, because I'm. Zach, if people wanted to email us and tell us what they think about all of these new things that Hollywood is doing to both be progressive and regressive at the same time. Not with that last story specifically, but with just all the stories that we were talking about. If they wanted to tell us about how they're feeling about the COVID pandemic, why they don't wear a mask, you son of a bitch, then how could they email us?
They can email us and tell us how dumb they are for not wearing a mask at lightscameranonsense@gmail.com.
So are you telling me that if somebody emails us at lightscameranonsense@gmail.com, they can have their stuff read on the show?
Tell you what, if you email us at lightscameranonsense@gmail.com and tell us that you don't wear a mask, not only will we read it on the podcast, but I will personally buy you a Lights Camera Nonsense mask that's on our shop and send it to you.
Put the link right there. So there you go. All you have to do is click on it. And you know what? When you buy a mask from our merch store, it actually gets another mask gets donated to a relief fund. So
yes, I was going to say that.
So be a good person. Buy a mask for you and someone else. And let's get this pandemic done with. I want to go back to the movie theater, folks. I need to go watch Tenet.
Yeah.
I need to go watch Tenet. And not be able to hear anybody while all the music is blaring.
They need you to go watch Tenet, apparently.
Wait, who? Oh, they will. Yeah.
Warner needs you to go watch
They don't
Tenet.
care.
Risk your life.
But this has been Lights, Camera, Nonsense, giving you all the latest movie magic you may have missed. And also keeping you updated despite our best efforts. I read that out of order. I'm dyslexic. Stop making fun of me. Tune in every 2 weeks for all the latest news, reviews, and how do you do's.
How do you
Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Bye.